We're ready to begin. Spiritual Development Panel number 4. And I am so pleased to be here with my friends, Sinet and Sin, sister and brother. We have 2 presentations for this panel.
So let's give Brother Bonacci another big hand for that wonderful presentation. All right. May I have permission to speak from my elders? All right, thank you. So I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Nteri Nelson, and I am a metaphysician, a clinician, and an educator, and co-founder of the Academy of Kemetic Education and Wellness, Counseling and Consultation in Boston, Mass., where we teach the African origins of the ancient wisdom, the Kemetic Egyptian African wisdom, and we teach a model of African-centered model for psychological, spiritual, and character development. And we are relentless in our work in counseling and consultation in the preservation of the African family and the services we offer. So, Imhotep, everyone. So today's presentation is Merkabah, the energy body of light, the Kemetic technology for remaking ourselves as beings of light. And we'll talk about how we move from KaAbBa to MerKabah, how we're making this dimensional shift. And these are long studies in our academy in Boston. So I'm just going to do some highlights. They're based on the books KaAbBa, Building a Lighted Temple with the Metaphysical Keys to the Tree of Life, and Merkabah, the Great Pyramid is the Tree of Life, KaAbBa. And I just want to quickly show you some photo highlights from the work we've been doing. Just very quickly, over the years, we've been graduating initiate after, class after class of initiates in these studies. Many of the people who come to our academy have already been to spacious and well-funded university where they have paid huge tuitions to learn nothing about themselves, but come to the academy to learn this African-centered model in our certification program. Just give you some quick visuals of this work. Not much time for an explanation. All right, so today I have 2 goals. One is to talk about Merkabah, the Kemetic technology for remaking ourselves as beings of light, the Merkabah, and time allowing, I'll do a whirling demonstration, an advanced yogic whirling meditation demonstration for how to indwell the Merkabah energy body of light. And there I am whirling there. What is the Merkabah luminous energy body of light? It is our vehicle of initiation, rebirth, transformation, resurrection, first eye activation, spherical consciousness, ascension, transport, enlightenment, and service. Now, we are beings of light. I'm so glad Brother Bonacci here talked about our stellar beingness. We are beings of light. We come from the fiery midst. We come from the fiery midst. And in the Kemetic technology for remaking ourselves as beings of light is what our African ancestors have left us and teaching us how to re-atomize ourselves, how to re-solarize ourselves, how to re-stellarize ourselves into this primal substance, this fiery substance from which we come. Now, why is this important? Well, we have lived in this earthly journey in more spiritual cycles of time, but in this planetary walk, we have moved into a more material consciousness cycle of time, the cycle that now grips our planet. And it is a cycle in which we live now that has us in this period of being more dense, this period of densification, this more materialization in consciousness. A planet and a consciousness that's been focused on the externalization of thingness and the production of thingness and gadgetry and devices to the point where we're exhausting the earth. And we are at and losing our humanity. We are at a tipping point now and needing to recalibrate ourselves. And so our Kemetic technology for remaking ourselves as beings of light moves us back into this stellarization, into this starlight, into this more spiritual consciousness. We may re-solarize and re-stellarize ourselves into this more subtle substance. Now, how do we move from the linear tree of life to the spherical, to indwell the spherical tree of life? How many are familiar with the tree of life? Excellent. The tree of life is our constitution, both human and divine. It is our makeup. So how do we move from the linear to the spherical tree of life to indwell the MerKaBa energy body of light? Well, our African ancestors have given us this pathway because they have given us the Medu Neter and taught us that Ka is spirit, which is represented here by these upstretched arms. I don't know if I get you see the upstretched arms at the top. Ka is spirit, represented by the upstretched arms. And they have taught us that Ka, spirit, takes from the substance of itself to see itself in form, which is represented by these same upstretched arms on the bottom here. You see them on the bottom? Ka, spirit, how does the Creator create? It takes of the substance of itself to see itself in form, as represented in these arms here. Ka, spirit, takes of the substance of itself to have consciousness in form, which is represented here by Ab in the middle, which is symbolized here by the heart. And Ka, spirit, and the heart is the seed of conscience and growing soul consciousness. So as Ka, spirit, takes of the substance of itself to have form, like you sitting in these chairs, as Ka, spirit, takes of the substance of itself to have consciousness in form, which is Ab, like you sitting here in these chairs, to be conscious, as the conscience grows in the fullness, Ab becomes Ba, which is represented by the hawk, the falcon hawk, which is the Ba symbol. This also has its correspondence. So we see here that our African ancestors have given us this spirit-matter continuum of understanding how spirit is matter at a lower vibration. They taught us the law of vibration, and that matter is spirit at a higher vibration, that all is spirit. They have also taught us that these Medu Neter terms have their correspondence with the divine trinity of Osir, Oset, and Haru. And that Oset here is represented by these upstretched arms, Ka, which is the physicalizing aspect. And Ab is represented as Haru. And then the hawk here is represented, has correspondence with Osir. And we see the divine trinity in this next slide of Osir, Oset, and Haru. And the divine trinity is, and the tree of life is within us. It is a divine cosmogram, a template. And this template is within us. It is how we are the microverse of the macroverse of creation. It is our divine cosmogram. And we see the divine trinity of our Set, the divine mother, Haru, son, daughter, Ab, and we see Oset as Ka, the divine mother, Haru as son, daughter, Ab, and Osir Ba, father, as representing the divine trinity. Now, again, this divine trinity is in us. It is not outside of us. Our African ancestors also teach us about the 7 planes of consciousness that are represented by the 7 Het Haru cows who are making their ascent up the Arit, or the star, or the staircase to the heavens. This also has correspondence with the 7 soul bodies that our African ancestors have taught us: Kab, KaAbBa, Sahu, Ab, Shechem, Ku, and Ba. So in the tree of life, we are not only ascending, we are spiraling. Let's see. Go back. Okay. Okay. Now, how does the tree of life become the Merkabah? Well, it is in the bending back of the tree of life. The tree of life bends back upon itself, like the Newt yogic posture, the Newt posture, like me here in the gym, like the Sankofa symbol, like the double pyramid, the pyramid of as above, so below as above, the pyramid above and the pyramid below, like the serpent swallowing its tail. And it is in the bending back that we are completing our circuitry. We are knitting ourselves back together again. We are, and as you see, with this uniting, we see the coming together of Osir and Oset. You see the divine trinity here forming the Merkabah in this pole here. And we see the pyramid forming above, and we see the pyramid forming below, and then we see the square. Now, this is the square of masonry that we have given the world. The square is where we are fashioning our instrument. We are fashioning our temple. We are doing the work of character building. And here we also have the Neteru that are within us. The Neteru of Ma'at, the Neteru of Tehuti, the Neteru of Geb. And in the Neteru within us are the qualities of divinity. They have correspondence with the planets. They have correspondence with the constellations. So all of that energy is within us. It is not outside of us, it is in us. Moreover, when we go to this slide and we look at the Merkut, which are of the Great Pyramid of Khufu, one above and below, and we look at the King and Queen's chamber, we see in the middle here the Merkabah, as this bending back and unification is taking place. We now have the secret embrace, the union, the marriage occurring between Osir and Oset in the Great Chamber. Do you see that? You see that marriage taking place? You see the pole here of Osir and Oset and Haru at the apex. This is all our divine geometry, cosmology, all the template within us. This is all within us. And with this union, this marriage, this secret embrace that is happening between Osir and Oset in the king's and queen's chamber, and with this unification, we now have the unification of Osir and Oset, Ka and Ba, spirit and matter, North Pole and South Pole. We have the union of receptive and positive, masculine and feminine, electric and magnetic. This is the electromagnetic completing of our circuitry. And in this unification, when we complete our circuitry, then we have this explosion, this electrification of effulgent light that we begin to radiate. And this is symbolized by the rising of Haru to the apex of the pyramid. You see that there. You see Haru at the apex of the Great Pyramid, which is within us, part of our cosmogram, part of our template. And with that resurrection, we see this solarization, we see this stellarization. You know, one of the things that is the hallmark of those who have completed this circuitry, where the Shechem, the Ra, is now rising along the Dejet pillar, and we are completing our circuitry through all of the chakras to have the halo, the light that begins to shine above our heads as our crowning glory in this resurrection that we undergo. Now I want to show you quickly here. Now this symbol here is the flower of life, and it's in Abtu or Abydos in the temple of found in the temple of Osir. And I want you to notice here that one thing is that you can superimpose. If you see here, you can superimpose the linear tree of life in that symbol. Do you see that? However, what my research shows is that these two spheres are missing. But what I do in my research is re-reveal these missing Neteru. And these missing Neteru are Nit and Kemenu. Here they are revealed here in the Merkabah energy body of light. We are spherical beings. This is one of the things we need to come to terms with. And these Neteru, Nit and Kemenu, they have the tools of creation. They're an important part of our cosmology for remaking ourselves as beings of light. And to the extent that they have been hidden and unrevealed and missing, is a reconnection that we need to make. The Merkabah Neteru tools of creation are the shuttle, the bow, the arrow, and the potter's wheel. And Nit, what Nit does with her tools is she makes the sheerest garment, the sheerest, finest garment, and what I call in my book, bubbly light, the sheerest garment. So her work is this entity or entification, this making us as these spherical orbs of bubbly light, the sheerest garment, the most subtlest of substance. And it is Nit, it is Kemenu, who then gives us the earthy dust element, the densification or the concretion in our equipment, our apparatus, our constitution. Now, you all familiar with this symbol here, the KaAbBa of Mecca. You see the square there, right? And you see the whirling around that's taking place of those who are on the pilgrimage here. But this is just some of our story. We want to get and know the whole story. MerKaBa is our story. Do you hear me, family? MerKaBa is our story. This is just some of the story. People have been taking some of the pieces and some of the parts. But this work brings us to our whole story of MerKaBa. Where's the pyramid above here? Where's the pyramid below? Where is its relationship to our monument? And it is the MerKaBa technology for remaking ourselves as beings of light that brings us into this spherical consciousness, not linear consciousness, but spherical consciousness. The ability to know the part, to know the relationship, and to know simultaneous all at onceness, how to see and move spherically. And I always bring my, famous for bringing my ball here. This for me is the first eye. We're activating the first eye here. And so it is the ability to see one at a timeness, relationship, and simultaneous all at onceness. We must imagine that this first eye is within us and that we are seeing in all of these, through these mirrored frames in every direction simultaneously all at once. And this is what we need to live in Ma'at. All right, so this brings me to this slide. So how are we able to whirl? Now, whirling brings us into this spherical first eye activation. How are we able to whirl? Well, we're able to whirl because we're able to see in all directions simultaneously. And even biblically it is said, when the eye be single, what? The whole body is full of light. When the eye be single, so our whole body becomes an eye filled with light. And so this is first eye activation. And folks will say, Dr. Nteri, how are you able to whirl? And don't you feel dizzy? Won't you feel nauseated? Well, we're not in the bodies. We're not in the soul bodies that get dizzy and nauseated. We have transcended them. We are in more subtle substance when we are whirling. We are able to move beyond the dense matters and throw off, this is a wonderful healing technique I use as a clinician, to throw off the dense matters that weigh us down. We have tremendous energy when we're in our MerKaBa energy body of light. And we're not in the mind of thinking, but we're in the mind of being and becoming. And we have a great feeling of peace and a tremendous amount of energy. So here I am whirling, and we're going to get ready to give you a little demonstration, everything permitting. One of the things is you just make things work wherever you are. This floor is a little burlappy, so it's a little, but we'll work it out. And so when remaking ourselves as beings of light, this Kemetic technology, we want to tap into that more subtle substance. We want to atomize and resolarize and stellarize ourselves into this stellar substance that we may recycle ourselves. We're talking about recycling the bottle and this and that, but what about recycling ourselves? What about drawing in that more subtle substance to recycle this device, this physical device that's on the physical plane? How are we upgrading the instrument that we're using? How are we upgrading it? We're so focused on external thingness and gadgetry, we are neglecting the device and the upgrade and the restellarization of that which is human and divine within us. So on that note, I'm going to do some whirling. Okay. If you're going to take heaven by storm, you have to wear some sensible shoes. When we are meditating, there's meditation where we're sitting still and we're creating that space within. We're creating that space within where storms are not. We all must create that space within where storms are not. That is the most sacred real estate that we will ever possess. That space within where storms are not. And this yogic meditation, this whirling, is doing that, creating that space within where storms are not, but we're moving, and we're accessing that more subtle substance, that fiery mist, that stellar substance, so that we may recycle ourselves. We may recycle ourselves and be what we need to be in this moment, and recycle ourselves and be what we need to be in the next moment. How do we refresh ourselves? How do we refresh ourselves? So let's create that most sacred space within where storms are not. It is through our practices and knitting ourselves back together again, accessing that stellar substance, accessing that. It is through our Kemetic technology of remaking ourselves as beings of light, accessing that stellar substance, that we then move through the portal of the chambers into the star systems. Our African ancestors have given us the roadmap. We but need to see our access. Thank you so much.
Okay, at this time, we have about 5 minutes for questions, so if there are any questions? Yeah. There's a mic here. She's bringing the mic.
I have a CD player, AM, FM radio. I'm only praising and blessing and being grateful for what I do have at home in my apartment in Lawndale. I'm asking for any type of CD, at least something audio to listen to, even by the time I get home after this. That's available here in this building, in this here conference.
Well, in regard to my work, Paul Gibson, Paul Gibson, where are you, Paul? Where are you, Paul? All right, this is utmost archivist. All of my YouTubes are on his channel, Paul Gibson. Google Paul Gibson and see all the company of scholars and their work. It is a rich resource. It is a rich resource. You will be amazed. And you'll see the some whirling on there, and you'll see John Henry Clark, you'll see Asa Hilliard, you'll see a lot of the scholars there.
Okay, Sister Latrella? Did you have a question too?
She did, she'll be next.
Okay.
Nteri, I have been practicing yoga for 44 years. And in my practice, in the second level, when we did the salute to the sun, and you would do the back bend, I would always see the light, the sunlight. The light would come through me, and because my body at that time, it was like maybe my third year doing it, was not as attuned, so when I bent back and the light would come, I would fall to the ground. But as I attuned my body and strengthened my being, then the light would just shine, I wouldn't fall down. So I want to attest to the fact that there is a light that shines within.
Yes,
okay?
Yes,
all right.
Yes.
Thank you for your work, great sister. I really appreciate that. I wanted to ask you, is there any measured impact of this work that you've done in a group in terms of maybe a morphic sort of resonance or some sort of bioplasmic energy field or something that gets created and something that you all have done with it? And I'm asking you that because I'm not too certain, but I'm fairly certain that it's possible to do that, and we can use that as a healing balm. And so I'm wondering if you have any of that data.
Yes, my sister. We see the evidences. We see the evidences when we're working with the heart chakra, and we're working to help transmute those heavy energies, the heavy pain that trauma, heartache, disappointment, grief, transmuting all of that heavy substance. And so so we're doing that heart work or before the scales to make the heart as light as a feather. And this practice accelerates that because in other words, when you come, I wish we had a workshop where we could come, and I've done workshops where people have joined in, and you see what it takes to do this practice, to whirl. Because one of the first things you have to do is you have a body, but you can't act like you got 2 left feet. You got to just get beyond it. And then if you had stress that day, or you move beyond the emotional, and then whatever thoughts are in, oh, I'm going to fall. So one of the things is trust. Anchoring on your left leg, your pole leg, anchoring on the earth as we reach for the heavens, So trusting, what is it to trust? Even trust ourselves to turn in a circle and not fall or get dizzy but when we move beyond that and then begin to tap into that subtle substance, get beyond those dense, heavy matters, it is just so peaceful. It is just the most gloriously peaceful experience. And so, and then the other thing is, a lot of us are going to the gym. I go to the gym a lot, but when we whirl, we become the people are on trampolines or treadmills or bikes, but when we whirl, we become the wheel. What we're doing on the mat, on the floor, we put in motion. And it takes strength, it takes core strength. So you're working so many capacities. But why would our African ancestors teach us their 7 soul bodies if we were just to be collapsed in this dense physical body, that sometimes lives 60 years and doesn't even collect Social Security? Why would they teach us? And we're more than just the emotional body and mental body. So how do we access those other bodies? So these are practices that access that subtle substance of those higher bodies, particularly for me, accessing the ku, which is Tahuti, which is accessing the divine ideation in the mind of divine ideation, the divine Metu Neter, the divine ideation in the mind of God, the Creator, accessing that most subtle substance. Don't we want to access that rather than the stuff of concrete mind, which is just our accumulation of what we think we know? Some of it's kind of worn out, some of it maybe needs refreshing, but why would we not want to tap into, if we say we know the tree of life and we study the tree of life, then we have to move through the arits. We need, like an elevator ride, and get to those other levels. So how do we do that? Everything we do, what we eat, what we think, so I hope I answered your question. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
We thank everyone for coming to the Spiritual Development Workshop, and let us give Dr. Nteri and KaAbBa Banachi another round of applause. Yeah. And there may be a moment if you want to do one-on-ones, if you have time.
Dr. Nelson is a metaphysician. We are beings of light, and so what I say is, as we indwell the MerKabah energy body of light, as we do the work to re-solarize and re-stellarize and re-atomize ourselves into that primordial substance, may your way, may our way be stellar. Do our Metu Neter.
Thank you, Hotel family. I'm going to do a spoken word piece with everyone's permission. All right. So it's called Keys to Build for an Eternity. A circle, a sphere, a cipher, a soul in a body for life, a lifer. My square was made from stardust, as dark as night until it rusts, with oxygen into a copper complexion. From my inception, I've been a legend, looking up to heaven, walking on earth, sitting still for hours, contemplating my worth. For what it's worth, I found power in the pyramids. I seen the same looking through the eyes of the little kids. I seen primal forces represented by panthers, 10 tigers wide, resurrected bones like necromancers. Calm down to find peace that's serene. Eyes open, but I feel like I'm living in a dream. It would seem sometimes I'm going out of my mind, out of my body, having OBEs, feeling crazy like ODB, meaning material, not purely physical or spiritual. At my essence, I'm ethereal. The whole universe was caused by just one miracle. How do you create something from no thing? How do you turn off the confusion that these thoughts bring? In our confused state of mind, we make moves without stopping to consider the consequences. Consequently, that just further the thirst for knowledge that needs quenching. So we turn to these lessons from our brethren, or to a Bible and a reverend, constantly worried about survival. We're turning to a savior figure to handle our revival into a state of unity, or as the ego would paint it, a state of ambiguity. Each initiation is a depth of illusion. In reality, you have to embody the changes that you are pursuing. Forms can be said to be similar if the angles and sides are congruent, so we build an alignment to structures larger than ourselves to avoid our own ruin. Or is it our salvation to watch the ego fall away, for this curtain to fall on this grand play where every actor wears multiple masks, where we all want to be first, but who wants to be last? Pain by its nature is transient. It is meant to pass. Unfortunately, so are the good times, so what is meant to last? Keys to build for an eternity, a slight break from our yearning. Patience as the seed matures. With soil, air, water, and sun, it endures. So too will man thrive on this elevated ride to realization. I stay locked into this meditation, grateful to nature and ancestors for my situation. Thank you.
elevation into sacredness from the four winds, from the four winds, from the four winds. Feel their great power, feel their great power. The rising sun's in sight, the rising sun's in sight, the rising sun's in sight, the rising sun's in sight.